about the unintentional systems that evolve. This is the thing. Every company has systems. You may say, like, no, we're just trying to get through the week. We're just trying to get to that first round of funding. We're just trying to get AOA to give us 175 grand or something. We're not thinking about that, but it happens anyway. So these systems emerged from habits that what happens when you're working, from the defaults that people have, and from urgency, because we're all, at early stage startups, we're all facing a lot of urgency. They'll be reinforced by learned behaviors. New people join, they look at what other people do, and they go, okay, this is how this works, whether that was supposed to be the way it works or not. And they'll also kind of assign myth to why it works this way, because they don't know. They see people doing something, they say, I guess this is what we do. And when they ask somebody, why do we do it this way, they go, I don't know. This is how we've always done it. So they start to try and figure it out themselves, because no one's explained it to them and no one's thought it through. So it's reinforced by these behaviors and myths instead of decisions and documentation. The question is whether those systems actually support what the company you're trying to build and the product you're trying to build. You need to choose your systems instead of having these systems evolve organically in a potentially dangerous way on their own. So I want to talk you through 4 different systems that I think every startup needs, even from day one. The first system is execution. Now, obviously, startups are all about execution, right? Ideas are cheap. Execution is what makes the startup work. But when I talk about execution, I'm talking about how do you get an idea from your head into your customers' hands, right? How do you deliver value to customers? Now, at Spotify, Jason mentioned, I was a VP of engineering at Spotify, and that was during the kind of hyper growth stage, right? When we really took off. That company, a lot of people kind of know stuff from that company, not just because of the product, but because of things like the Spotify squad model. How many people know the Spotify squad model? Okay, few. It was really famous for its execution systems. And that was deliberate. There was a deliberate thought. The company knew we want to grow quickly. We have to build a system that allows us to do that. And there was a lot of discussion and a lot of thought put into how to make that work. And they designed a system that was all about building team autonomy, so that teams could operate independently, because what they were trying to figure out was, as they were starting to grow, any of you who've ever been in a larger company where teams kind of have to work together, what happens? Okay, well, we need a meeting to talk about when the deliveries are going to be, and what you're going to deliver, and what we're going to deliver, and then, then we need another meeting to kind of check in on the status of that, and then we need another meeting because this third team now is making a new requirement on us, right? Any of you who've been at any company of any kind of reasonable size have dealt with that, and it's a pain, and it slows everything down. Spotify didn't want that. So what they said is, what we're going to do is make each team its own company, and they're going to be able to execute and run at full speed. And they built a system to make that work, and that was a deliberate decision and a system that they designed to make the company work. And it executed exceptionally well. But another part of it was they also knew the company was growing. So as a part of the team that was responsible for this stuff in engineering, we would occasionally revisit and look at it and say, is this still working? And if we thought it wasn't, we'd change it. And when we change it, we'd say, this is how long we think this new thing will work for. And as we approach that deadline, we'd look at it and we'd say, is this still working? Do we need to change it? And then we'd revisit it. Anytime we made a decision, we put in an end date for when we thought it would probably stop working. We never assumed that things were fixed. And that was also part of that execution system. So how many of you think in your companies today, if you ask the people in your company, even if it's just you, even if you're a solo founder today, if you walk around and ask everybody in your company, how do we get ideas from our heads to our customer hands? How many of you think everybody in the company would say the same thing, or close to the same thing? All right, well, that was easy. That was an easy question. Okay, I'm like serious. Raise your hand if you think everybody would say the same thing. Oh, one person. There we go. Even again, like me having been a founder, I could tell you even when it was just in my own head, different days I'd probably tell you different things. as I was trying to figure it out. That's telling you that you need this execution system, because the minute you hire the next developer, or the developer after that, at some point this is going to start to really hurt you. The next system is feedback. And again, I hit the wrong button on the remote. The two remotes was always going to bite me. Okay. The second system is feedback. And when I talk about feedback, I mean, how do you know if what you're building is working? And I mean that on multiple levels. Do you have product market fit? That's feedback, right? Are you hearing from your customers that you're building the right product for them? I also mean, is your system up? Because I'm coming from the CTO world. How do you know if your system's actually working? So how many of you in this room find out your system isn't working because somebody tweets at you or slacks you from a customer channel or something like that? I'll say, like, it still happens to us sometimes. And that certainly when the company was founded, the founder actually, that was our monitoring. The founder would wait till somebody tweeted at him to tell him that our website was down. That's how he knew the website would go down. And you would just assume that people would do that. And that was, for him, a decision. He was very thinking type of person. He knew that was okay, because he decided that's the way he wanted to do it. He didn't want to invest in monitoring. He wanted to make our customers feel involved in the company. So he thought, this is a good way to do monitoring, have our customers tell us when the site's down. Now we're a much bigger company, we're 10 years in, we've got a few million customers. Yeah, that doesn't work anymore. So now we have all those great monitoring systems, but I'll tell you, that's really been the last few years, because we're also trying to understand in real time how our customers are using the product. So we're following all the flows and all those kinds of things, because we need to get the feedback from our customers. And that was a decision. We changed the system, we built a new system, or new sets of systems. But again, it was a very deliberate choice, because we were a different company at a different time period. The third system is people. So Jason was just talking about HR. This is not just an HR thing. This is, as a founder, this is everything. This is your culture. This is also, like, how do you know what decisions to make? If you, as a founder, if you're afraid to leave the room because you think that decisions will start being made that are going to be bad decisions, that means you haven't put in your people systems. You haven't put in your execution systems, you haven't put in your feedback systems. And early on, having been an early stage company person, your culture, your company culture, if you're a solo founder, your company culture is your head, right? Whatever in your head, that's your company culture. Whatever you think, that's your company culture. If you're a co-founder, guess what? Your company culture is the intersection of what you believe and what your co-founder believes. And guess what? It's almost, you're not the exact same person. So it's going to be a smaller group. Every person you hire, that overlap gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I used to explain it this way. If I like the office cold and you like the office hot, okay, well, we're going to find like lukewarm or something is what we're going to set the thermostat to until we hire the third person and they like the office like really cold, so now it'll start to get colder. And if you like the office hot, you're going to be less happy. And maybe what we should do is actually talk about this early on, before we hire 50 people or 100 people or even 5 people, and say, what do we think, like, if this is important to us, what temperature should the office be? And then from then on, when we interview somebody, we say, what temperature do you like the office? And if they say, and we've decided we like the office really cold, and they say, I really like the office hot, then you go, you know what, this may not be the right company for you. And so that's the easiest one. But I mean, the thing that really taught me this kind of stuff was Netflix. Like the Netflix culture deck. Like, hopefully, we've all read the Netflix culture deck, even though it's pretty old at this point. If you haven't, you should. And I say that not because I think Netflix is so awesome. In fact, when the Netflix culture deck came out, I read it, and what it made me think is, I never want to work at Netflix. But it was cool. I really appreciated it. One, they were incredibly transparent about who they were and what was important to them. And two, they shared it, so I could make that decision without like going to interview at Netflix, maybe getting the job, showing up, and realizing, oh, this was a huge mistake, right? That was incredibly smart of them. They thought through their people systems. So it's worth reading just to think about, just to see how a company defines its people systems and just how thoroughly they did that. And it set them up for a lot of their success.